Across Europe, thousands of children are being forced onto the streets to beg and steal. They come from the poorest community in Europe, the Romanian gypsies. But in the last 20 years, organized crime has taken over. And since 2007, when Romania joined the EU, gypsy children have been trafficked and exploited on a massive scale. In Spain, 8-year-olds robbing grown men at cash machines has become a common sight. In Italy, a major police investigation found enslaved children locked in a shack like animals.
It's only the tip of the iceberg, and it's a phenomenon that we'll have to fight against for a very long time.
And will reveal the shocking tide of racism they face.
They are people who should be killed, but we can't kill them.
These children are the victims of a culture of crime and the wider society that seems to have abandoned them. The question is, will anyone save them from the hands of their exploiters? Another day, I go back to the camp to try and find the children who go out stealing in the city. Daniela was in the group of kids I saw the other night. She's hanging out with Zabar's nephews. I take a chance and approach her.
To beg, to steal, what we can't steal. From cash machines. Who says we can't steal? So what if they look me up? Big deal. You put in your card, you type in your PIN, you take the card, we take the money. We take the money and come home. 400, 300, 600, sometimes €1,000. When you go begging, you work until 10 at night and you make 50, 60 and you come home. But when you steal, you make 300 in one go. It's easier. What? Stealing? It's not dangerous. Seriously, it's only the police that catch us. They take the money, they take us to the day centre, and the centre lets us go.
They're minors. If they're under 14, they don't do anything to them.
I give it to my mother so we can build a house in Romania. But I hide some of it for myself. I give her 150 and I keep 150.
Suddenly, an argument breaks out, and they turn against me. It's time for me to leave. It's becoming dangerous. When he finishes, the man, who's called Nae, joins Zabar and his son, who are watching a wedding party that is taking place on a hill on the other side of the camp.
Muzica, aude patra la ușă. Aude.
13 ani.
Many Roma gypsies marry off their children at a very early age. The girls are in effect sold into marriage. Nae himself sold his daughter when she was 12.
Look, that gypsy who lives on top of that hill got €7,000 for his daughter. I got 25 million lei for my daughter in 2004.
Asta cât era în euro atunci?
About €800. But now, since we're in the EU, it's become much more expensive.
The marriage was consummated last night, and now they are celebrating the fact that the 13-year-old bride was a virgin.
This is our gypsy custom. If she's untouched, if she's a virgin, she's valuable.
But the reason the bride fetched such a high price was not only her virginity.
She steals. She follows the Spanish who withdraw 700, 800, €1,000. She robs them and she runs. Yes, at 13. If she wasn't a valuable thief, they wouldn't have even paid €1,000 for her. €7,000. In 2 weeks maximum, they'll get it back.
At this point, I try to film the wedding, but I'm told that I can't. Marrying off their underage children is illegal in Spain, and they could go to jail. I'm leaving Spain for the country where gypsy crime has come to dominate the headlines. Italy. Here, the right-wing government recently declared a gypsy emergency, giving police powers to the army in major cities and strengthening the immigration laws. And several gypsy camps have been attacked by local residents, some being burnt to the ground. I've come to Milan to meet the policeman who's been investigating crime in the gypsy community.
If I come to Italy and I try to live in Italy, I have to adapt to the Italian law and behave civilly, like any other citizen does. Stealing is a crime, and you can't hide behind your culture.
A few months after Romania joined the European Union in 2007, the police noticed a massive upsurge in pickpocketing and theft by children around Milan's central station.
So, we started an investigation that lasted 7 months. It showed the existence of a multi-pronged transnational organization that operates in different countries in Europe.
There were dozens of attacks like this in the central station, day in and day out.
Then, obviously, we tapped the adults' phones, which they used to talk to each other. These kids were clearly controlled. They were controlled every single moment of the day.
The recordings show adults cruelly exploiting vulnerable children. This man, Adrian Pascu, was one of the controllers, said to have his own army of children stealing for him.
We learned that the organization could make about 400 euros per day from each kid. And if we calculated the activity over a period of a month, each kid earned about 12,000 euros. Then 12,000 euros times by 50 kids. If you do the maths, you reach an astronomical amount of money.
According to the police, the children were making over €500,000 per month for their exploiters. In order to establish the complex connections within the organization, it took months of hard work for Messina and his investigative team.
Men and women were part of this complex organization that was structured on 3 levels. At the first level, we have the young adults that control the kids while they're operating on the street. Then, at the second level, we have people whose job it is to pick up the kids.
The police found that members of the children's families were often involved.
Partendo dai genitori, ricostruiti i gruppi familiari, quindi le relazioni poi fra fratelli, cugini.
È una struttura organizzata, non c'è dubbio.
Most of the money made by the children was sent to Romania.
C'era poi un terzo livello.
Then the third level, the command level, the most important one, is based in Romania and consists of the bosses who decide the strategy of the organization and reinvest the money that comes from the criminal activities.
The police established that the Milan part of the operation was run from an illegal camp set in a derelict farm just outside the city. On the morning of the 11th of December 2007, Messina's team got ready to move in. Nearly 200 police officers with helicopter backup descended upon the gypsy camp.
Welcome.
Buongiorno, tranquilli, un normale controllo di polizia.
There were around 200 people living in the camp.
Dai, forza! 1, 2, 3, dai fuori, dai, forza, veloci! Forza, dai, sotto!
The police were looking for 25 suspects, all involved in the exploitation of the children operating at the central station.
Come ti chiami?
Non sono io.
Tua moglie dov'è?
This man and his wife were wanted for kidnapping a 10-year-old boy from Romania and forcing him to steal. They threatened to break the boy's arms if he didn't bring in the money. As the police search for suspects continued, they made a shocking discovery. In a small shack, locked with a chain, they found over 15 children.
Io ce l'ho 10 anni. Ce l'ho 8 anni, scusa. Io ho 10 anni.
These children were kept in captivity in terrible conditions.
Santa Madonna Dixon.
The police knew the children well from the numerous times they stopped them in Central Station Square.
Bobby?
The exploited children were taken into care. 19 members of the organization were arrested in the camp and 6 in Romania with the help of the local police. On another day, they spot a woman with 2 young children. They run after her and ruthlessly lift her purse from her bag. They empty the contents of the wallet, drop it on the floor. They head back to the camp. Our investigation has shown that the children who were being exploited 2 years ago from the ruined farm are once again thieving on the streets of the city. It's clear that the elaborate police operation has not saved them from a life of crime.
Una risposta forte.
A strong response would be to kick out Romania from the European Union and consider Romania outcast. Do you believe it could be done? It's impossible. Today the EU is expanding.
Decorato expresses opinions that would be unthinkable for politicians in most European countries.
The Roma don't really know the meaning of work because we always find them in the camps. They send the women to work and prostitute themselves, and the children are sent to steal.
Mandano a lavorare le donne, a prostituirsi. I bambini li mandano a rubare. Però
also, if you went now to any of the camps, you would just find men playing cards. So someone tell me how I can possibly explain to these people the concept of work, when their concept of life is without work, and the work is left to women and children instead.
Come concezione di vita non hanno il lavoro, ma il lavoro lo fanno fare a donne e bambini.
So it follows that it's not us being racist, but it's them who don't know how to be in our society.
Saper stare in una società civile.
Around the corner, the local residents are having coffee and cakes. There's a heavy police presence. The gathering's been organized by Lega Nord, a popular right-wing political party.
So why are you here today?
To celebrate the closure of the Romani camp. And because I was pickpocketed twice. Now that they've been kicked out, I'm happy.
Sure, it's safer now, but for how long? Because these people just move from 1 kilometer to the next. They are always here.
The Roma, the nomads, whatever you call them. It's disgusting the way they exploit children and old people.
They are people who should be killed, but we can't kill them.
The gypsy issue has fueled the swing to the right in Italy. Casa della Carità believes the situation is more complex.
The right wing says that Romani gypsies are just people that exploit their children and women for stealing, for begging, and maybe there is a bit of a truth in this. But the real problem is that some of the gypsies actually beg and steal because that's the only chance that they have for surviving.
Buongiorno. La barba non l'abbiamo fatta stamattina, Robert.
Donatella has been working with Romanian gypsies for over 4 years. The charity has developed a program which tries to integrate gypsies into Italian society. It starts with paying close attention to the needs of each individual.
Generally, what they want to achieve is a job, a regular job, and a house.
Possible it may be, But the process of integration takes time and is beset with difficulties, as many gypsies are not prepared to change and follow the charity's rules. One of the main things they have to renounce is using their children for stealing and begging. This is by no means a simple exercise. If this family persists in sending their 2 sons begging, there's a strong chance that the charity will send them back onto the streets. This has happened before. Only this tough approach can break the cycle of child exploitation, common in the Romanian gypsy culture. Casa de la Caritas' model of integration seems to be working, but the task facing them and other charities trying to help the gypsies is enormous. During my time in Milan, I've seen gypsy children exploited by both their own families and by organized crime. I've seen children as young as 3 begging here on the tube. It's very sad, and it's shocking that today, in Europe, with all the laws and services that are there to protect children, this exploitation can happen on such a large scale. It's time for me to leave Italy and head to Romania to trace the roots of this problem. But before my departure, as I walk through the center of Milan, I encounter one of the most heartbreaking cases I've seen since I've been on the road. This girl, who looks no older than 10, is begging as this woman watches on. I'm not sure whether she's her mother or her controller, or both. The girl is friendly with the local store owners. She's good at her job and seems to get a reasonable amount of money. All the cash she makes, she gives to the woman. They have a strange relationship. I watch as they share a tender moment. But it's not long before I see a much darker side to it. The girl goes to help a church worker for a few moments and doesn't make any money. When she returns, the woman is angry and beats her with a stick from her bag. The girl cries and is clearly afraid. Under pressure, she goes back to work. She even feeds the woman a few times with the food she's begged. I watched this girl working solidly for 10 hours, late into the night, begging in restaurants and bars where a young child has no place. She hands her last pennies over, but the woman is still not happy and hits her across the face. Romania is home to the largest gypsy population in the world. The gypsies originally came here about 1,000 years ago from northern India and have been subjected to discrimination and violence ever since. Largely excluded from mainstream society, many Romanian gypsies have resorted to criminality. I've come to one of the gypsy crime strongholds, the city of Craiova. Most of those imprisoned for child enslavement as a result of the police operation in Milan come from here. This is a dangerous place.
Craiova seems suffocated by the gypsy clans who control half of the city. Although it's unacceptable in a European Romania, the authorities admit that they are helpless to face this phenomenon. The internal wars between gypsy families are carried out on the streets with guns and swords.
I'm here to meet up with a powerful leader of the gypsy underworld. The neighborhood where he lives is home to over 10,000 gypsies. Most of them belong to one clan, the Thieves.
So we're going into this room, which is specially made like a museum of photos. Here are all my relatives. That's my father, one of the greatest gypsy leaders of Craiova, and he was part of the clan of the best thieves. I'm part of this family that occupies itself with stealing.
His nickname is Brilliant, and for him, stealing is a profession that has been passed on from generation to generation. Having come from a long line of thieves, Brilliant has a special insight into the history of gypsy crime.
When did the Romani gypsies from Romania start going west?
I can't remember exactly, but in any case, between 1980 and 1989, they earned quickly because, having escaped a communist country, they had the right to asylum and residency in those countries. And they came back with special cars and built outstanding houses. And they came back to use the power that they had. And they said, whoever goes to these countries gets rich.
Și acum o să mergem în cartier să vedem mai de aproape situația. Crescut pe această stradă.
I grew up on this street.
Și la vârsta de 13-14 ani.
At the age of 12 or 14, I started pickpocketing to contribute to help my grandparents because my parents and my uncles had been arrested.
Pentru că erau arestați.
When Brilliant was a child, this district was dirt poor. But at the beginning of the 90s, when the gypsies from here went to the west to steal and beg, the neighborhood started to pick up.
When they saw this possibility of making money, at a certain point they no longer wanted to go begging themselves. Because the truth is that when someone has a lot of money, they begin having character, dignity, and they're ashamed to steal and to beg. And then, in order to keep making money, and under the pretense that they want to help others, they try to persuade them to go and beg. Look there. What a house. What a courtyard. This guy's called Philip. He initiated many departures. He opened the roads, as they say, in a few countries. England, Ireland, France, Germany, Canada, Australia, America. He got to Australia, yes. And that house, and this house are all his. There's no need for him to go abroad anymore because he makes his money as a loan shark.
In the last 20 years, the neighborhood has flourished. And nowadays, every street here has dozens of imposing villas that Brilliant says are built from the proceeds of crime abroad.
Look at this house. Now, there's a guy who stayed for a long time in Italy, probably for 15 years. He begged, he stole, he made a lot of money, and he sent it home and started lending it with interest. These two houses belong to Maruzzi in Calistrada. Calistrada is my first cousin. They sorted themselves out financially in England, and a large part of this fortune was made from stealing. In England, yes.
Many of Brilliant's neighbors have been lifted out of poverty, but he thinks that the level of criminal greed has gone too far. He advocates a return to the old days.
They stole because it was a necessity. They didn't steal to make fortunes or turn it into a business as they do nowadays. This is something that I disapprove of, and that's why I recommend that they should set a limit. They should calm down. Because the thieving, what they're doing now, it's no longer a national problem. It's happening on an international scale. Now the whole of Europe, the whole of the world talk about the gypsies. Our children need to study. Because if they carry on like this, if the new generations growing up now continue in the same way, no one will have us. Our own country won't understand us anymore. The Western countries will chase us away. And then I ask myself, and I ask you, brother gypsies, where are we going to go? Where? Where will we live?
Most gypsies in Romania still live in shacks, but there are also many who now live in palaces. My fear is that without immediate help, the gypsy child thieves that I've encountered in my journey will grow up into hardened criminals, and the cycle of abuse and exploitation will spiral out of control. Where that help would come from remains to be seen.